This is my handwork room, which is always kept warm, and the wood I'm about to use always lives in here for at least several months so as to get really dry. And I do monitor the humidity in here as well. If we start with the wood up here, this is mahogany that I use for the necks. There are different kinds of mahogany. Cuban mahogany here, Brazilian mahogany here. The wood for the neck, the heel and the head are always from the same piece of wood and are marked as such. So that's the necks. Some partly built bits of guitars here. Here we have sides, Indian rosewood sides. I mean, these are, as you can see, are from February '97, so these are 8 years old. Moving along here we have assorted backs and sides again. This, I think, is cocobolo, which is another wood used for back and sides. Here we have a guitar body, completely finished, waiting to receive the soundboard. Here we have some Brazilian rosewood, which makes the very finest backs and sides for guitars. Next we come to the ebony fingerboards. All my guitars have ebony fingerboards. Finally we have the Indian rosewood backs, which go with the Indian rosewood sides I pointed out earlier. These from a slightly different date, so these are 6 years old. In this corner I've stored some of my spruce for the soundboards. Here are the spruce tops before they're joined and sanded. This is what they're like when they are first sanded, and they're stored here with the date written on so that I know when they were joined. I also have some backs, sanded backs. For example, this one here is a Brazilian rosewood back for a Martin Simpson Signature model, ready to be used.
How long does it take you from, I mean obviously not in hours, but in terms of, right, I'll start a guitar on day one.
Yeah. Well, I build 2 guitars at a time, and this isn't just so that I haven't got dead time while I'm waiting for glue to dry. And building 2 guitars, I can then go from one to the other while glue's drying on one and work on the other.
Yeah.
It's also because a guitar built over a period of time will be a better guitar than one that's built quickly. The wood wants to take its own shape. I build them all to the same design, but as the glue dries and the wood settles, it'll change shape. Now, I want it to finish changing shape before I build it into a guitar and put other bits onto it, so that I'm then building guitars without stress. By building 2 guitars together, to get back to your question, I'm probably building them over a period of 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks for both guitars.
We've moved around the better to inspect this guitar, which I think it would be good if you chatted about.
Well, this is the one. This is the reproduction of the modified Martin Simpson Signature model that I brought down and that we discussed earlier, which I liked very much, you liked very much, and I plan to build in parallel with the existing one, rather than as a replacement.
Yep.
And lots of about it is the same as all my guitars, and as we've said before, my guitars are very different, partly because I'm self-taught, although a lot of guitar makers are, partly because I came at it from a different angle. I do recall that when these first went over to the States, quite well-regarded,
very well-regarded
guitar builders. Well, one of them I was discussing the fingerboard, and the old guitar maker, he was ordering one from me, and he wanted me to use a rosewood fingerboard, and I said, well, actually, I would rather use. I will give you a rosewood fingerboard. I would rather use an ebony fingerboard. And he paused quite a long time, and before saying, well, according to how we understand American guitars, your guitars shouldn't work at all. So I'm going to have to go with you on this.
Exactly.
And so I fitted him an ebony fingerboard.
The last time I went to California with the first Martin Simpson model, I found myself surrounded by luthiers with their dentist mirrors and really quite horrified expressions, going, "What is he doing now? why is he doing this? Look at this.
This shouldn't work.
Exactly. It's great. It's wonderful to watch. And of course, these are great builders in their own right, and they really. Which brings us to a point. I think there is a certain amount of instinct that goes into building in the same way that there's instinct that goes into playing. You know, you're not quite sure what it is that works, and when you get to the point of talking about it, it's a bit like wine tasting too. You're forced to use adjectives which are perhaps not altogether a big shaggy sound we've got here.
Exactly,
you know? It's a difficult thing to talk about, actually.
This particular guitar I'm very happy with. Well, obviously we're going to see how it sounds. We'll see how it compares with the original. It's this scantling wood I like so much, with 2-piece sides.
Beautiful.
6-piece back. The number of pieces in the back is absolutely unimportant.
Yeah.
It's the quality of the wood that
Yes,
counts.
absolutely.
And this is just the best quality. If you tap this wood before it's built into a guitar, it rings like aluminium.
Yeah.
And that's a really good sign for how the finished guitar is going to sound. Here is the original of this guitar, so you can see the differences as to what yet has to be done to the other one.
So you've got, obviously, this guitar is in finish, as they say. It's a
3-piece back.
This is a 3-piece back, and it has its final finish on. So this guitar is now at the stage of requiring what?
It has to have the bridge made. The bridge is shaped to the curve of the soundboard. The curve of the soundboard varies from guitar to guitar. Even though I build it the same, it chooses its own shape.
I think it's worth pointing out that that's one of the things which is very, very different about your instruments, is that the definition of a flat top guitar, this is not a flat top guitar, essentially. It has an arch built into it.
You could call it a curved top guitar. As opposed to a carved top guitar.
Yes, quite so. That's specifically what it is.
Yeah.
So the lines of the guitar, when you look at it like that, I think are absolutely unique and very, very beautiful.
It does mean that the depth of the guitar is much greater in the centre line than it is at the sides.
Right.
And some did point out just the other day that this actually makes them much easier to play, because it's more comfortable for getting your arm over.
I've always felt that. In fact, a couple of times, you know, playing other builders' guitars, they've said, well, how do you feel about this instrument? And I've actually had to say, well, I find it uncomfortable to play because it doesn't have, you know, I mean, one of the radical things about the Stratocaster was that it had a big chamfer here, which you could put your arm on. And everybody went, wow, this is comfortable. And your guitars essentially have that built in.
I designed them like this for the sound.
Yeah.
It wasn't done for easy playing, but it's just nice when there's another benefit. So the bridge has to be shaped to the curve of the soundboard and cut out and made to the right height. It will then be marked out on the soundboard, and the area of the bridge will be taped over with sellotape while it's lacquered, and then the sellotape removed for gluing the bridge on after the instrument is lacquered.
Absolutely.
And then it'll be ready for stringing up.
It's interesting just to look at the two instruments here. This is the standard Martin Simpson model finish, which has the ebony binding, and this is a tulip wood binding.
It is, yes. I tend to put tulip wood binding onto experimental models. It's very pretty. I like it a lot. It's actually quite tricky to use. It's not a very cooperative wood. So there's a bit of how are we doing with this sometimes, but it's nice to do. It's a very old piece of wood I've had for quite a long time on this. It's very nice Brazilian rosewood. I've had it a long time. As with so many pieces of really old wood, it has some ancient wormholes, and it's for this reason I wasn't inclined to use it on a production instrument.
Yeah.
But as you can see, carefully filled, you'd be very hard put to ever find them. It's a great piece of wood.
I like the concept of wormholes in guitars, actually.
Yes,
Stefan.
I thought you would.
Antiqued.
Pre-antiqued.
I'm always interested in the relationship between player and builder, because there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that you know much more about building than I do, and I know much more about playing than you do.
Could be.
And so I defer to you entirely with regard to everything except that and that, basically. And I think that...
And to some extent, that.
Oh, that, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something... Actually, you've done that. You really ran with that. You changed the profile of the neck to the point where these guitars, the Martin Simpson models, really are the most comfortable guitars I've ever played.
But
the fastest guitars I've ever played.
This comes from your input. I mean, the influence works both ways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the sound of my guitars, I know from when you first played them, when you first played one, it was quite clear, oh,
I was hooked.
This is what this is what I want, this sort of sound. But from listening to you play, makes me hear what the guitars can do in the hands of someone who's a better guitarist than myself, also someone who's in front of me, so I'm hearing the sound coming towards me.
Which you don't so much when you play.
And that again is an intuitive thing, an instinctive thing, as you were talking about. That I listen to you and I listen to the sound you're making, and also the sound you're not making. Okay, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
What do I want?
I think that what I wanted to say to anybody who might be eventually watching this discussion and thinking, well, I want to have a guitar built, is unless you're really sure about your ideas of input as the player, leave it to the builder to do it.
Because, and I second that.
Yeah, because almost everybody that I know who's ever gone, gung-ho about, right, I want a guitar and I want this, and this, and this, and this, and the builder doesn't naturally do this, and this, and this. You've ended up with a guitar which actually is not what the builder would have made, and is not
what the guitarist really wanted.
Exactly.
But I won't. On the whole, I don't do that, and I do say this is what I do. If you like this, come to me. Yeah. If this isn't what you like, there are lots of other guitar makers making really nice guitars.
Go and do that.
Yeah. Go to one of them.
A singular absence of pearl inlay in this, I see, Stefan.
Yes, well, it's a defect in my guitars. They are not dripping with candy.
Absolutely.